This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Today's an easy Friday video. After yesterday's heavy dive into the meta settlement, I wanted to do something lighter. And it looks like the palace just dropped an expensive 5-page spread in the UK's Hello magazine to keep force-feeding the narrative of why Harry is going home. Yeah, it's clear to me that this is all a big cover-up, and I think we all can see that it's manipulation at its finest, and they've been doing this the past 10 years. Now, it's pretty laughable at this point. I personally think that many more people are waking up. I don't know about you, but I see this for what it is. A campaign to sell a cover-up and bring Harry back into the fold. I've lost so much respect for this institution. My trust is completely gone. And the most disgusting part about this is that these people don't even care that we know they lied to the world. I think what's evidently clear here is that even with facts and people using common sense, they know a good majority of the public will still believe what they were fed due to the intense psychological conditioning that they were doing over the past 10 years. For those who don't know anything about psyops or how intelligence uses propaganda, it's really hard to see beyond what was fed because pretty much they captured the public's perception. The British royal family are people who believe they know better than the rest of us and that they have the right to tell us how to live and what we can do. As long as their royal propagandists keep spinning the bread and circuses to keep the public distracted, they will continue to keep pushing the globalist agenda that protects not only their power, but also their control. I think for many of you, this journey has been an eye-opening experience because once you actually see it and realize what has happened, everything else that you look at now takes on a whole new meaning. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with me. So as you can see, Hello magazine has these two jokers on their cover this week, with a 5-page glossy spread detailing why Harry and Meghan are going back and what it means for the royal family. Of course, this is PR spin and likely with the palace's blessing from the royal rota. Emily Nash is in charge of this one. So let's get into it. The article begins. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex left Britain over 6 years ago, they vowed to make a success of their new lives in California. The couple didn't appear to look back, settling into an idyllic existence in Montecito and making no secret of their displeasure with the UK. Indeed, only 15 months ago, Prince Harry declared that there was no way that his wife, Meghan, and their children, Archie Markle and little Betty Markle, would live in his place of birth. "I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK," he said as he reflected on the Court of Appeal's decision not to restore his state-funded police protection. Yet, as he revealed in a bombshell announcement that made headlines around the world last week, the Duke and his family are preparing for the previously unthinkable, a return to British shores. The decision caught everyone by surprise, not least the King, who learnt of his younger son's planned return only 4 days before it became public knowledge. Does anybody really believe that shite? Come on now. I don't even believe that this so-called meeting happened, but they continue to keep reinforcing this narrative. There's no evidence. Again, this all came out via these propagandists. So why are they coming back now? Sources close to the Sussexes say they realized that they wanted to make the move after enjoying a family trip to Britain in July, when Archie Markle and little Betty Markle were reunited with their grandfather, the King, and spent quality time with Harry's uncle, Earl Spencer, in Northamptonshire. It also seems that career aspirations are a factor for Meghan, who is widely believed to have been offered an acting role in Britain. I almost feel like, who gave her all of these stupid opportunities to keep us distracted was Charles. Harry has been keen for the children to experience life in the UK, and Meghan will support this as well. A friend of the Duke tells Hello they feel the time is right. They'll want to get the kids settled. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the harder that becomes because of the age they are. The children's previously distant relationship with their royal relatives must also have been a factor. Archie and little Betty were at the center of a surprise reunion at Highgrove last month when they saw their grandfather, the king, along with the queen for the first time in 4 years. The fact that the details of the meeting have remained private suggests that there is a new bond of trust, which could be the foundation stone for a rapprochement. Again, you see the reinforcement of this narrative down the public's throats. There's no evidence that this meeting actually took place. And now all of a sudden, Meghan and Harry choose to stay tight-lipped and that they could be trusted after 6 years of manipulation and fuckery? No, I'm not buying this. A friend of the couple tells us they had a wonderful time this summer, and that was part of the decision. They realized they wanted to take the opportunity to bring their kids home and share his family's history with them. They saw a lot of friends and family during their visit. They're excited to give the children more time in a country that's important to them, and they have the flexibility to be able to do that while the kids are young. Harry and Meghan will also be keen to continue their warm relationship with Earl Spencer, having recently spent time with him at Althorpe, the ancestral home of Harry's mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. You notice how they never talk about Meghan and her family and her black roots and letting her kids understand that side of their heritage? Never. This is how you know all of this was bullshit. Meghan's return to acting? A new acting role for Meghan is also likely to have influenced their decision. Just over 24 hours after the Sussex's relocation was revealed, reports emerged that she had been offered a role in a forthcoming project based in the UK. Some reports suggest that she is being considered for a part in the 3rd season of Guy Ritchie's hit Netflix series The Gentleman, which is filmed in the UK. Although talks are said to be in the early stages. One source tells Hello that Meghan could make an appearance in London's West End. Her most famous role to date, before she met and married a prince, was the character of Rachel Zane in the legal drama Suits. I think she may be asked to do a West End show. Lots of people in the theater world are talking about it, the source says. She has always wanted to do something like that. The leading public relations expert, Mark Borkowski, tells us, I know at least 3 or 4 West End theater producers who would have her in a production tomorrow. If Amanda Knox could be the biggest talking point of Edinburgh Festival Fringe, why wouldn't Meghan? Whether she wants to do that, I don't know, but a sharp producer would definitely see a vehicle for her. Here's the thing. Meghan will continue to be given opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. We have gone 10 years with witnessing that. No matter how much they say, oh, Hollywood has turned its back and, nobody wants to associate with them. And then next thing you know, you see them pop up with David Foster and others. None of it really makes any kind of sense. And this is why you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt. They are crafting a narrative. As far as it goes here, it doesn't seem like Meghan really has that much of a role. They're really focusing hard on rehabilitating Harry and bringing him back. But as far as Meghan, I think what she's going to be reduced to is just like superficial things, such as acting roles or, focusing in California on this so-called Fugazi business that likely is not going anywhere, but will be nicely funded. It's just going to give the optics that Meghan is busy, while Harry then reintegrates with his family and, we'll see the separation. But Meghan is not a long-term solution here with the royal family. I don't buy that. The way that I see it, Meghan was there to do a job. That's it. However, others suggest that the motivation for the move could be rooted in financial concerns. Harry faces a hefty legal bill after last Friday's ruling that he and his co-defendants, including Sir Elton John and Sadie Frost, must make an initial payment of £9.5 million in legal costs to the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday after losing their High Court privacy case in July. Robert Jobson, the author of The Windsor Legacy, suggests that although the couple's children are a factor, there is another unspoken motive. I think it's a bigger decision than it just being Harry's turn or it's being about the kids. Basically, they've had a bit of a difficult time with their ventures, and they need a role, he says. He believes that Harry wishes to mend his relationship with his father, who is 77 years old and living with cancer, both for emotional reasons and to renew his royal status. It's going to be very difficult for the king, Robert says. On one level, he will reconnect. On another level, it will make things complicated for him. If the king has been blindsided by it, he will be upset. But it does mean that he can try to bring Harry into the fold and maybe give him a role. It's a gift that would be much more forthcoming from his father than his brother. I feel that William must be slightly aghast by the whole thing. Robert adds, the return of the prodigal son will be difficult for him. I'm at the point right now with watching everything unfold, there's no way William didn't know. No way. As for any reconciliation with the wider family, a friend of Harry and Meghan tells hello one step at a time. But having the opportunity to have relationships with friends and family that are harder from the other side of the world, the driver is there. I don't think anything will be immediate. They're obviously going to move and get the kids into school, and we'll see how it goes from there. But I hope there's a way that this could all work harmoniously. Hopefully there's a space for positive working opportunities for everybody. There are still other thorny issues to iron out, not least the question of the couple's royal status. The late Queen Elizabeth II declared that there could be no half-in, half-out status for a working member of the royal family. And when asked if this still stands, Robert says, "How can that not happen if they're living in this country? Whatever they do will be seen as semi-royal. Perception is everything, and this causes confusion. It will muddy the waters. If you give Harry an inch, he takes a mile." I don't know why Robert Jobson is questioning this. The last 6 years, Harry and Meghan were doing the half-in, half-out. Nobody stopped them. Harry was still on the website. Harry was still using his titles. Harry was still getting access to places where, an ordinary private citizen wouldn't have access to. So what's so different when they go back? The whole thing is such theater right now. Harry's still Counselor of State. Harry's 2 invisible, fraudulent children are in the line of succession. I really feel secondhand embarrassment for these so-called journalists who are just putting out propaganda to rewrite history. It is quite insulting to our intelligence. Really, it is. The fact that the couple's business ventures in Hollywood did not go according to plan could be significant. When their rumored $100 million deal with Netflix came to an end, the agreement was reportedly renegotiated after they failed to replicate the success of their tell-all documentary, Harry and Meghan. A similar deal with Spotify, worth $20 million, was terminated in 2023 after just one season of their podcast series, Archetypes. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle show, With Love, Meghan, was recently canceled by Netflix after 2 seasons. Robert adds, could they be coming back for his visa, money, or declaring tax? They're saying it's for the children's education, but I don't believe that. I think it's financial and to do with his position as a royal. And that's because Harry never left. An industry source who has previously worked with Meghan says that the pair have alienated key figures in California. They're not well liked in Montecito, but also in Hollywood. If I was in that situation, I think I would need to move because they've used up all of their favors. I don't think they have many friends, and the Kardashians don't like them. The perception with them is that nothing's ever simple. Nothing's ever easy. Meghan remains committed to As Ever, the lifestyle brand through which she markets her own range of jam, wine, candles, and honey. And she is expected to join Harry for some forthcoming public engagements relating to his charitable work. The couple have campaigned against online harm, a topic on which they are likely to continue working in Europe. That's not all Archwell Fugazi Public Charity was involved in before it was Archwell Philanthropies. But no, we're not going to see any of that being discussed because that's not part of the script. They don't want people to remember any of this, but that's why we're here. We're here to remind everybody of what Harry and Meghan were up to here in the United States on the down low, covertly. Really, Harry's mission had been subverting the United States the whole entire time. As ever, in addition to Archwell Productions, Harry and Meghan's media company, and Archwell Philanthropies, their charity will continue to operate from the U.S. under the same teams that currently manage them. Meanwhile, Harry's dedication to his beloved Invictus Games remains strong. He has always planned to attend the event in Birmingham next summer and is keen to cement his charitable ties to the organizations with which he has maintained relationships, including the sick children's charity WellChild. Whenever he's around, it's a boost for the movement, a friend of the couple says. It's great that he will be more available for things and talking about the issues and all of the people that Invictus supports. He feels incredibly happy when he's involved in Invictus. From a practical point of view, there will hopefully be more opportunities for him to be involved, publicly and privately, and that's definitely a benefit. What he does well is putting a spotlight on causes that he feels completely at home with and passionate about. If it means more conversation, more ability to drive forward the sort of issues that he supports, that's great for the organizations. Now, here's the delusion with these two. They honestly believe that just because they bless an organization with their presence to show up and do a photo op or PR stunt is going to help the organization. But what it does, it actually puts a spotlight on these organizations in a very negative way to be scrutinized. So the attention that they're getting is not necessarily good attention. It's actually sad because what we've seen with like Invictus as well as Senta Bali, you have donors that don't want to contribute because they don't want anything to do with this couple. Harry and Meghan's brand is so toxic that it actually hurts whoever is associated with them. So I can't see how it's a good thing that Harry needs to be visible with these people. I just don't. Away from their work, there is, of course, the question of how Harry and Meghan will reintegrate with their royal relatives. Although the King and Queen recently welcomed the Sussexes to Highgrove, a cooler reception is expected from Harry's estranged brother, the Prince of Wales. Their relationship collapsed in light of the revelations aired by Harry in his 2023 autobiography, Spare, and his and Meghan's Netflix documentary, as well as a damaging interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021, in which the Duke and Duchess suggested that some senior members of the royal family were racist. Robert says it's hard to imagine how the brothers could attend family events together. Are they really going to have William and Harry sitting around a table with all that's going on, he says? Perhaps the king is hoping that it will be a chance for reconciliation. We've had the noise of Megxit. Now we have Regretsit. I'm still putting money on this. I do think that we'll see a reconciliation by Invictus Birmingham in 2027. That's just my prediction. I hope I'm wrong, but somehow I feel like this is going to be like the thing that breaks the internet. Yet, a friend of the couple adds that the Sussexes know they have a steep hill to climb, not least in winning back public opinion, which has cooled of late. In a YouGov poll released last week in wake of the news of their UK move, 33% opposed their return, while just 21% supported it. This chimes with long-running ill feeling dating back to Megxit in 2020. Since then, Harry and Meghan have been the least popular members of the royal family, apart from the disgraced Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. They're not operating in a bubble, the friend says. They're aware of the context of their return, and they're aware of the impact they can have. But they will get on with their business, and I think that's what they'll probably want to focus on. How other people perceive it is obviously down to them. That just has to play out. Brand and PR experts say that the couple will need to tread carefully if they want to restore their reputations in the UK. Mark Borkowski tells Hello, you don't make a decision like that overnight, and it's quite interesting to me because clearly there's something going on here, and they've been planning it for a while. Harry's built for purpose. He was trained for service, and it must have been difficult living out in Montecito with sunshine and jam and Netflix. If you look at it from a PR point of view, you knew they didn't have a team around them who were going to challenge some of their crazier ideas. It was too full of people telling them what they wanted to hear. It's interesting that they're making a point to say that. I don't buy that. I think the palace has been involved this whole entire time. Harry is an asset for any charity, and I think the British public can be forgiving. But what is Meghan going to do? It might be a rocky ride, but if they can take small steps and don't do any crazy Kardashian like things, like following their return with a film crew and selling it to a streamer, they might stand a chance. It's about choosing the way of rebuilding and getting involved in reconciliation, not just with the royal household, but also with the British public. The brand expert, Nick Eads, says, I see it as a huge challenge because they have to change the public's perception of them. Harry and Meghan do have a fan base. People will always have a soft spot for Harry because of what he went through with his mother. But it's going to be much harder for Meghan to establish herself. It's a challenge optically for them, as it looks as though they've come back with their tail between their legs, no matter how much you spin it. The Sussexes' return doesn't just have implications for their reputation. The tricky subject of the family's security also needs to be addressed. Prince Harry has been unrelenting in his quest for public-funded security to safeguard himself, his wife, and their children after it was withdrawn following their move to California. In light of last week's news, there has been no public indication that the Home Office is reconsidering its position, but the announcement could mean that something has shifted behind the scenes. Ken Wharf, who was Harry's bodyguard when he was a child, says that the government will have to reconsider once he is a resident of the UK. It's going to be very difficult for the government to not give him some level of security. He's still a prince of the realm, Ken tells us. When asked whether Harry's position as a non-working member of the royal family is equivalent to those of Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, who do not receive royal protection, he says, the closeness to the king puts it in a slightly different frame. There is no comparison with Beatrice and Eugenie. Ken says that Harry's return to the UK to live rather than just to visit changes the argument about protection. I've said publicly that I didn't think he deserved security for visits. I think that there will be a different approach to a more permanent move. Robert says, if Harry is going to get full security, as he's been demanding, he's going to have to be embraced as a royal again. This unresolved issue could be one of the reasons why the family have chosen to live in private accommodation outside London. Reports suggest that the Cotswolds is the most likely area of residence, with some suggesting that Archie and little Betty have been enrolled in a school there. Harry and Meghan lived in Grade 2 in secrecy for around 9 months before they married in 2018. They have lots of friends in the area, a source says. Meghan is close to Ellen DeGeneres, who lives there with her wife, Portia de Rossi, as does Simon Cowell, who is friends with Prince Harry. There's also Soho Farmhouse, a members club where they are sure to spend some time, as Meghan is still friendly with the Soho House executive Marcus Anderson. The house they rented when they were last living in the Cotswolds was quite small and isn't big enough for what they need now, so they will have found somewhere else. If they do move to the area, one local who may not be popping around for a cup of tea is Harry's cousin Beatrice. Despite suggestions that he had kept up his friendship with both her and her sister Eugenie, Hello understands that they are no longer close. Harry and Meghan are not so close to Beatrice and Eugenie anymore, and Harry did not see Eugenie over the summer in Portugal, where they both have properties, a society source says. Harry has very few friends left from before. They're going to have to make some serious social inroads to get back in the fold. Beatrice and Eugenie are not even in touch with Harry, and Eugenie was once so close to him. They didn't even see each other when they went over in Portugal recently, probably because Eugenie was so heavily pregnant, but it's a real difference to how close they used to be. So close that they let Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank, her husband, stay in Frogmore Cottage. Although festive celebrations will no doubt be approached on a one-step-at-a-time basis, the idea of Harry, Meghan, Archie, and little Betty being invited to Sandringham for Christmas is no longer out of the question. Much would need to be forgiven and plenty of work done first, but a year ago, the idea of Archie and little Betty enrolling in British prep schools seemed far more improbable. By comparison, a Sussex Christmas at Sandringham no longer feels quite so far-fetched. I mean, how do you all feel that these people lied to the world? Feels kind of disappointing, doesn't it? Literally, the palace just told you what the roadmap is. Notice what was missing in all of this. Sure, they talked about their failures with Netflix and Spotify. I mean, doubling down and reinforcing those narratives. But they didn't talk about any of the other political stuff that they were involved in. Once again, completely blocking that out as if it never happened. No mention of the fake New York car chase. You notice also what's not talked about is the Daily Mail case where Meghan was exposed for lying, about working with Omid Scobie on Finding Freedom. Also, what's never talked about is Samantha Markle's defamation case that somehow is just stuck in appeals court. No mention of that either on whether or not it's going to move forward. Kind of dead in the water at this point. You notice how they also don't talk about the alleged bullying by Meghan of the palace staff? You don't hear about that anymore. We certainly don't hear about those attacking Catherine online by Christopher Boozy. Nobody talks about any of this stuff anymore. The only sense you can make of it, which has been consistent from day one, is that all of this had been one giant lie. One giant lie to bring these two assholes over here to do what they were doing just in time for the 2020 election and then go on to work with groups eroding and subverting the United States. Harry's running back, not because people are saying that he lied on his visa about his drug use. No, he is running back because this shit is finally catching up. If people have been paying attention to what is going on in the United States with all of these radical leftist groups like the SPLC, there's a reason why I talk about this stuff, by the way. Notice what's happening now with these organizations and the IRS coming in, as well as the Secretary of Treasury cracking down on these radical leftist NGOs that are being funded by dark money. Now, where do you think Archewell fits in all of this? Why do you think they closed up shop real quick and wiped their website? Use some common sense, people. Let's go ahead and set the record straight here. Harry always had protection, security. What he didn't have was the immunity as well as the access to the intelligence. Those are the things that this couple wants. And I do believe that while Harry might have been protected, I don't think Meghan was protected. And I think this is what this fight is really all about. You notice how Meghan never really travels internationally? I mean, we saw her go to Paris, but outside of that, does she go anywhere without Prince Harry? I believe that's because he is the one who has the security, not her. Yeah, I think a lot of people are mentally exhausted about hearing Harry whine and moan about his stupid security. Many of us suspect that Harry never lost the security. I think that right now what they are doing is like building up this case to justify when they do announce that Harry is back into the mix again. They're creating the optics and creating the circumstance surrounding it in order to justify making the taxpayer pay for this. Because we all know right now everybody is annoyed at the fact that these two have lied their faces off, had no accountability for it, and now going back as if nothing happened. This is why people are pissed off. There has been no acknowledgement, no remorse, no acknowledging the harm that these two have caused. No, we're just going to bring them back and all is forgiven. And the whole song and dance about William and this reconciliation, what did I tell you? I can honestly envision this headline and story about how King Charles made the two brothers sit down at dinner and break bread. And here we are, Hello Magazine, laying it out for everybody, telling us what is about to come. I know everybody's so sick to death and are questioning, well, why are we still talking about them? We actually have to talk about them because it's not okay what they were doing here and acting as if it never happened. This is what they want. They want us to stop talking about it. They want us to be exhausted and they want us to just move on. No, we are not going to move on. We're going to continue to keep reminding people of all the things that they're choosing to leave out. This is why I do this with these tabloids, because it is part of the PR rehabilitation campaign. And what way to blow that up than to keep reminding people of the things that they are desperately trying to get the public to forget. No, we're not going to forget it. We're not going to forget it until there's some type of accountability. Just as Harry wants to see accountability for these social media companies, no, we want accountability for all the disinformation and harm that was caused onto innocent, unsuspecting people. They can continue to keep cranking out all of this propaganda, but I think a lot of people are seeing through it. But I would love to know your thoughts. What do you guys think? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.